Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your April 2022 TWitWoW monthly Q&A. It is the 70th TWitWoW monthly Q&A already. If you think about it, we're closing in on 6 years of doing this because we do one a month. And once we hit 72, that'll basically be like a 6-month anniversary or 6-year anniversary. That's absolutely insane. We haven't skipped a single month our entire time that we've been doing these. We've just done one every single month consistently. And they are starting to wind down a little bit, it feels like. This month, I believe we ended up with 26 questions total, which is a relatively low number for us. But it works out even better because today is also the NFL draft. So hopefully, those of you that weren't able to get your questions in for today have saved them and are going to be able to get them in for the May Q&A. All that being said, though, John, I'm assuming you're probably ready for me to shut the hell up and get into these questions and answers.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's dive into these.
First 3 are from Hypothesis, whose first question is for both of us, and he asks, with Roman and Brock facing off to unify the world titles, who would face off in tag and women's unification matches?
Well, WWE already kind of answered our question on tag because we're knowing RK Bro and Usos are doing it at WrestleMania Backlash.
Yup.
And for women's, I guess if we're just going by where things stand, it would be Charlotte and Bianca, but they're doing other things at present. So
yeah.
You
know, if I had it my way, it would be Bayley and Bianca, with Bayley coming back to SmackDown and eventually unseating Charlotte before those titles get unified. But realistically, I think the correct answer is just don't unify the titles. But I would have said that about the tag titles and the world titles as well. So obviously my opinion doesn't fucking matter in this.
None of ours do. That's the beautiful thing.
Hooray! Irrelevance.
It feels so good. All right, next question.
Next up, let's talk about question just for me, actually. He asked me if I would rather have Pokemon Black and White 1 and 2 remakes, or a Pokemon Black and White 3, which would effectively be a third game in the series, where Pokemon Black and 2 were the sequels to the first Black and White. Black and White 3 would effectively be the sequels to Black and White 2. Or another Legends game like Pokemon Legends Arceus, set in Univa's past as opposed to Sinnoh's past. I'm going to answer this as simply as I can, Hypothesis. I never played Black and White. I think I played one of them up to like beating the first gym leader and then stopped. Black and White were the Pokemon games that I fell off of the franchise with. I didn't play Black and White, and I haven't played a Pokemon game since then, actually. Literally, the most recent Pokemon game that I have ever played is Platinum. Actually, I think technically, I don't know what came out more recently between Platinum and Heart Gold, Soul Silver. But that's like the generation that I last played of the Pokemon franchise. So my answer here is kind of irrelevant because, frankly, I would hope that people who actually like and played and have fond memories of the Black and White and Black 2 and White 2 games would give you a more effective answer. But I will say, no matter what they do as far as how they go about the remakes, because I'm sure they will do remakes. If we got, the Diamond and Pearl remakes, we're definitely getting Black and White remakes. But what I will say is, I really do hope that we get another Legends game. And if it happens to be set in Univa's past, that's fine. I would love it if it was set there. If it was set in, I think, Galar's past, like any of the more recent games, it's fine. I'm totally down. Honestly, though, it wouldn't surprise me if, because of the success of Legends Arceus, it wouldn't surprise me if they went out of their way to try and make an older region like Hoenn, Johto, or Kanto, one of those 3, make a Legends game out of one of them. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. We'll have to wait and see, though. I think that's a sufficient answer. So, John, this next question is actually just for you.
Okay.
He only just wants John to answer this. Which do you think was more offensive, the Eugene gimmick or the Zach Gowan storyline?
God. I would say Eugene, because I feel like Zach Gowan even if not by much, was still more humanized than Eugene was, and not in like a caricature way to like move the story forward, but like, you know, it's like, oh, this is a guy living his dream. Some of the commentary was very cringe during his matches, but I would say overall Eugene was probably the worst.
I know you didn't ask me, but I definitely agree with you on Eugene.
Yeah, so, all right, next set of questions.
Well, the thing is with Zach Gallen, he legitimately is a fucking amputee. Like, that's a real thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas with Eugene, it was a fucking neurotypical dude doing a caricature of, I guess, someone with autism? I don't even know what he was going for, honestly.
Yeah. It was pretty bad. So
it was very like he watched Rain Man a few times and he was like, okay, I got this, and he went over.
Yeah, exactly.
Next set of questions are from Brandon Best. The first one: is there a disconnect between the portrayal of police within superhero media and reality? And I think the obvious answer to that is yes, because at the end of the day, John and I actually discussed this on Rocket League last night, I think it was. But yeah.
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was.
The day, you know, police in reality, the problem is not a few bad eggs. The problem is systemic. And every bit of media that you're going to find is going to portray it as a few bad eggs. Very few exceptions. I talked to John last night about the one exception I could think of in superheroes shows was season 1 of Daredevil, with how they basically portrayed it like... I forget the guy's name, but the one cop specifically was like the only one that wasn't corrupt. And it was like really good at being like, yeah, pretty much the entire force is corrupt, but there's this one dude that's actually a good cop. And it's like, it kind of flipped the norm on its head, where normally it's like, oh, there's just a few bad eggs. But in this case, there was only one good egg, right? So I think but even then they fucking butchered that, because then he ended up getting promoted, which in reality he would have gotten fired.
Exactly. So, yeah, definitely a huge disparity, Brandon. and yeah, like Ashton said, we talked about this during Rocket League last night, because I think it was like tangential to like another conversation we were having, so it was kind of an overlap. And yeah, it really is something, the disconnect between, I know you said superhero media specifically. I mean, look at Batman, right? Batman practically is a glorified cop. Yeah. Like, he really is a symbol of retributive justice. He never once thinks like, oh, hey, you know, why are you doing this stuff? Maybe you can be rehabilitated or whatever. And that's why the only thing that I like where Batman like kind of went in that direction was the ending of the Killing Joke, where him and Joker actually have a conversation. And Joker, of his own agency, says, no, it's far too late for that. And it's like, oh, okay. But yeah, most of the time he's just like an arm of the fucking police. And of course they're going to like valorize them and stuff like that, because as I told Ashton, you could have media, and I want to focus on your question. So you said superhero media, you can have it step over the line a little bit and challenge our presuppositions, but they're never going to redraw the line altogether. Like, that's the fucking problem. Like, they're never going to like throw it out and diagram something new. It's going to be like, okay, well, what's the elasticity essentially of this diagram? How far can we stretch it? How far can we bend it? Where can we move? But still within those defined parameters. And so, yeah, definitely a huge disconnect.
All right, let's move on to our second question from Brandon. How dope is having Kairi back in Stardom? Man, I wish I knew, but we've only had her for 2 shows in the last month.
I miss her terribly. Really fucking terribly. And that's why I will say again, I will keep using this fucking platform to say the same goddamn shit. Kamitani better uphold her end of the bargain and fucking retain that championship against Micah, because I want my fucking Kairi Kamitani matchup. I will, you know, and when I get it, I will shut the fuck up, at least for that moment, until I want something else, but I want it really bad. So yeah, it's been fantastic. I cried when she returned. It's beautiful. She's beautiful and she deserves all the things, but I'm selfish and I want more. So yeah, more Kairi matches, please.
I would call that selfish. I would call that being a fan.
Yes, indeed. And I love her. So
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So up next, let's talk about our third question from Brandon Best. When it comes to wrestling outside of the big two, as he describes what I'm assuming is WWE and AEW, do you think there are fewer head-based finishers these days?
I don't know, but I hope so.
I'm gonna say no, honestly.
I mean, we got pile drivers, which drive somebody on their head.
DDTs, same thing.
DDTs,
Hammers,
and there are
which aren't as common, but they've never really been common.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are finding more innovative ways to drop people on their head, if anything. Like, literally, Miyu Amasaki literally just debuted in Stardom, and one of her mid-match moves is a fucking double underhook jumping pile driver, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty fucking wild.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I have to agree with Ashen, actually. I think Ashen makes some good points, but as long as they're doing it safely, I guess I don't mind, but I wouldn't really care if all the head-based stuff went away altogether, honestly.
We've got a lot of brain busters, too. That's another big one.
Yeah, yeah.
Even in just Stardom alone, I mean, I feel like 2 different women have a brain buster as their main finisher, as like their super finisher almost, in Saida and Hazuki.
Yes, yes.
So, yeah, I definitely think, if anything, rather than fewer head-based finishers, we're getting more, and they're becoming more and more innovative. Like I said, people are coming up with new creative ways to drop people on their head.
Yes, absolutely.
Plus, we've got Azumi, who occasionally does a Frankendriver.
Oh, that always looks so good, too.
It does, yeah. And her Arachnarana isn't dropping someone on their head, but it is sending them headfirst into the turnbuckle pad, so that's a thing. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to stick with that answer. Next set of questions are from Super Blue. This ought to be fun. First,
oh, boy.
How did you feel about the results of NXT Stand and Deliver?
I laughed because we skipped it, and I was stupid. Fucking Dakota and Raquel winning the titles only to drop them a few days later. Fucking Ziggler retaining against Braun via cheating, only to lose literally the next night on Raw.
2 nights later on Raw.
Oh, 2 nights later, yeah, because it was Saturday, right? Stand and Deliver?
Yeah, it was a Saturday afternoon show.
Yeah, like, it was stupid, a waste of time, and I'm glad we skipped it, and I'm glad we're done with NXT 2.0, because I'm still keeping my finger on the pulse of it, and I'm really not excited about anything happening there, to be quite honest. So, yeah.
Yeah, MSK won the tag titles. Kimberly's first allegations having already surfaced.
Yeah, and then they're like, oh shit, you know, that the fucking Hitler pick.
Yeah.
Got to do something about that. And now it seems like that's the only interesting thing is I am curious ultimately what they're going to do with Wesley. Because they better not fuck the dude over because that's a major single star waiting to happen. But yeah, even that, which I feel like it should have gone to Creed Brothers personally. But they're kind of doing a story now.
Well, and now they're featuring the Creed Brothers anyway, because the Creed Brothers are getting a match against the fucking Viking Raiders on the next show. There's like a big NXT special happening next Tuesday.
Yeah, Spring Breaking or something. Spring Breaks or whatever.
I think you were right the first time, but you said it like without the accent, because I think it's Spring Breakin', like the Breakin' movies.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like it was ultimately a worthless show that amounted to nothing because most of it got retconned anyway.
Yeah. All right. Awesome talk. Second question from Super Blue. Why are Republicans hell-bent on stepping on women's and transgenders' rights?
Because it's conforming to their ideology. They've always been like this. It's not like it's this recent phenomenon.
I gotta tell you, man, I think it's a little more complicated than that, honestly.
Obviously, it's a little more, like, everything's more complicated than that, but straightforwardly, like, I'd laugh if anybody woke up and was like, oh my God, Republicans really hate women. Yeah, let me pull a chair out for you.
No, yeah, but God, I feel like it really is that you're right. First of all, let me just say, you're 100% right. But to dive a little bit deeper, I think
of course,
less that their ideology is to hate women and transgenders, and more of their ideology is just to specifically pander only to straight, white, cis, ideally, wealthy men. And
okay,
if you just pander hard enough to that one dominant demographic, all of them, or at least a majority of them, and a majority of the people who still see them as the quote-unquote superior class in the country, are going to go along with it. Like, it's I don't want to say it's an appeal to authority, but it's kind of a fucking appeal to authority. Like, it's literally like, oh, these guys are the ones that know what's best for the country. They've always been in charge, and that's for a good reason. It's because they should be in charge, and they know, and they're smart, and they're the ones that all this stuff. And like, obviously, it's ignorant as hell. But like, between that and the obvious fucking money problem, where Republican politicians are corrupt and accept dirty money from gigantic corporations whose interests are in making as much money as possible and not in the people. It's a combination of things, but yeah.
I do just want to say one more thing, just to kind of refine my previous point, because like you said about me, you're 1,000% right. No contention with what you said whatsoever. But I guess I'll be a bit more nuanced in my own point and say, I don't think it's just, I don't want to say it isn't, because I do think it is. I do think sometimes people are just that awful. But I don't think it's just hatred in and of itself with trans people, women, gay people, whatever. I think it's more what the greater visibility of these groups represent, because conservatism and conservatives at their core, they're traditionalists. When we say reactionary, what does that mean? Because I know words can get thrown around a lot. I'm probably guilty of this too. And I know it hasn't helped the discourse any. If anything, it just seems to get worse with each passing year. When you're a reactionary, you wish to maintain certain institutions. So if you're a Catholic at the time when the church is the dominant power, you're a reactionary when you want to keep the church in power. When maybe there's a growing dissenting group saying, hey, why not public democracy? Why not reason, using science or deliberation or whatever to come to decisions or policy or whatever. You're a reactionary if you're like, no, the church knows everything. We need to suppress these voices. We need to suppress them. These people are reactionaries. They want a time where transness is invisible. They want a time where gay people are invisible. I guarantee if you pull somebody out of the 50s or something that is reactionary in consciousness, they'd be like, oh, gay people didn't exist back then, but they did. They just did it very quietly and very invisibly. So I think another thing that's really important to stress, it's not just the idea that, oh, that person's trans and I hate them, or that person's a woman and they're going for a CEO job, which that's a whole other critique, but that's separate. And I hate them for that because they should be home. It's more what it represents, a shift from a world that they want to preserve and maintain into one that they don't know where they fit, and they have existential dread and anxiety about it, and they make it everybody else's problem.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to add that nuance to my answer rather than just, oh, it's the way it's always been, because that is technically true. But why is that? Because, to kind of couple with your answer, they're at the center of the social universe in that way. They don't have to deal with existential dread. And meanwhile now, because more people are like, hey, we're human too, and we don't exactly want to suffer and fucking die. It's like, no, what about me? And it's just so tiring and so fucking obnoxious. But here we are. So, yeah, I think that sufficiently answers that. Next question.
Yeah, that's kind of my big thing too, is like, I don't even think it's fair to give them the credibility of them being allowed to hide behind their religion. Like, there's like, I'm not trying to get into a religious debate, but literally there are people who claim that there is shit in the Bible that just isn't there. There's nothing in the Bible about being trans. There's nothing in the Bible about not being gay. There's nothing in the Bible about any of that shit. These people make shit up so that they can hide behind the excuse of religion, even though it's not actually a part of what's supposed to be their fucking religion. It's literally just bad faith garbage.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's kind of my big thing, is like, I think saying, oh, like, they're trying to thump the Bible, that's even giving them too much credit, because most of them are thumping beliefs that aren't even in the fucking Bible. You know what I mean?
Oh, I just want to be clear. I was using that as an example of, like, say, a different time period, because I said when the church was the dominant power. I don't think we live in that time anymore.
Right.
But it's just a matter of, you can have reactionaries in every era. So in case that was directed at me, I just want to clarify. I wasn't saying that specifically. I'm saying any institution that kind of enshrines them and puts them at the center, they are going to want to protect that institution.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can use religion, you can use fucking, I feel like Trump is a symbol of secular mythology for reactionaries today. Oh, the election was stolen from him, and oh, he speaks his mind, and he's for all of us. So what they need is a figurehead, whether that's God as like a figure and like a symbol,
right,
or again,
Trump.
More secularly, somebody like a Trump, or something like that. Like, yeah, it's always about maintaining a way of life that centered them, that privileged them. And now that they're being decentered, and I don't even think they're being decentered that radically. Again, that's a totally separate thing that I do not have the energy to get into right now, and we don't have the time. But, they're very threatened by that. And that threat is going to be met with violence, both on a policy level, as we're seeing in Texas, and we're seeing in Florida, hell, even in New Hampshire. New Hampshire here, and I fucking love this state, but our governor, who I always thought was kind of like a moderate Republican, has really gone hard because they've done a near total abortion ban, and they're getting in on the fucking CRT garbage. Because people that they didn't want to hear, that it's like, sit down and shut up, they're starting to be a bit louder, and it discomforts them. So they'll find any authority, whether transcendental or secular, to justify that suppression, without question.
All right. Let's get into our next question from Super Blue, which is, I believe, the third one. Yeah. Well, why is the media all over the violence in Ukraine, but not covering the pandemic that's still going on?
I don't know. I think I really don't even have an answer for this, because I think in a way COVID is still being covered. Like, in a way, it's more marginal to Ukraine. You're right. But I think it's just always keeping the news cycle going. I think they could tell that people were maybe starting to get burned out on COVID a little bit. Like, even those that are still, like, obviously not anti-vax or anti-mask or anything like that. But I think we all had at one point, like, that COVID fatigue, right? Because it's been over 2 years. And it's still going, by the way, just because they stopped reporting on it. I mean, there's still obviously a pandemic. But what's the new sensational thing that we can talk about? And you see that Ukraine has more of a unifying effect. At least it did in the beginning. You've got all the people changing their profile pics to the Ukrainian flag and all that performative bullshit. And then, pretty soon it'll be another thing coming out, whether it's something political, maybe it'll be the pandemic again, now that it's kind of been put on the shelf a little bit. But you always got to keep it fresh, I think. But yeah, I mean, they'll probably go back by it, I guess. Exactly. Yeah, new variant. Exactly. It's always going to be something. It's always going to be something. But yeah, that's really the best I got for that one, to be quite honest, because media's fucked too.
Yeah. Pretty much. All right, so let's get into our fourth question from Super Blue. Why is WWE wasting LA Knight's time as a manager, and will it help either Mace or LA Knight at all?
To answer honestly, because I'm going to ignore all that bullcrap about LA Knight at the beginning, because the dude's like 39 fucking years old. Either make yourself or don't, and clearly he didn't. Like, you only got to that level, and that's probably where you're always going to be. I'm happy for Mace, because we need to be pragmatic and understand that for so long this dude wasn't even on fucking TV. So at this juncture, I feel like it's not the point where we can be like, oh, give him something else, because they weren't giving him anything at all, right? So I'm just happy to see him on TV. And I think he's got a great look. He can obviously go in the fucking ring. So hopefully, and I can't even say that anymore because this company fucking sucks, and it has for the longest time. And after reading that Athena interview that Chris Van Vliet did, I have no faith in fucking anything, whether it's NXT, main roster, whatever. You would think in a company that has like a plan that he would be able to pivot to sometime into something else. LA and I don't really give a fuck what he does. I'm sure he'll pivot too, and he'll take on more of an in-ring role. I see him as nothing more than an Intercontinental Champion. And, here's the thing. I'm feeling like sucking an asshole today that if he would become a world champion, I would still say I was right and that WWE was wrong, because it would just be a waste of fucking time. But I'm happy for Mace because he's on TV where he deserves to be, because he's fucking talented. So that's my answer to that question.
Full on agree across the board, my dude. 100% agreement. I'm not even going to add anything. Fifth and final question from Super Blue. How do you feel about Kushida's NXT career? How soon can he reclaim his dominance over the New Japan Junior division?
Well, you can't reclaim something that you never had unless you controlled the pencil, which I'm hoping he won't when he comes back. His NXT run, honestly, was probably the most I would ever give him any credit. He was dialed down. He wasn't overbearing. I thought his matches were genuinely good. I think one of the best matches he had was for the North American Championship against Johnny Gargano. And yeah, like if Kushida was booked like that elsewhere, I might tolerate him. But even if he is insufferable in New Japan, I've been so checked out of New Japan lately, which is really fucking sad because I used to love that place. But him going back there certainly wouldn't do me any favors on that role either, because he's just really dialed up to 1,000 over there, and it's insufferable because he's not as good as he thinks he is. Plus, he doesn't know how to sell blindness. Take notes from Hikaru Shida, you prick.
Bam!
Anything you want to add?
Yes.
Yeah.
I love the exclamation mark on that. That was perfect.
Yeah.
Next set of questions are Rotten Butter. We're already up to Rotten Butter. First question is the typical Rotten Butter first question, but he did add in Moon Knight and other things this month that aren't Moon Knight.
Yes, Rotten Butter. One thing my family and I have been watching, oh my god, it's my new reality show addiction, Love is Blind. We did the Japan version. Season 2 is coming out next year. So we've done Love is Blind US, Brazil, and Japan. Japan was fucking adorable as shit. The two couples that got married, especially the one, actually, just the one, was super fucking precious. If they would have said no, I wouldn't believe in anything anymore. I probably would turn heel because feelings are for fucking chumps. But thankfully, that didn't happen. So that was a beautiful, beautiful experience. We have been slowly going through Witcher Season 2. It's been like, okay, but mainly I just kind of put her that show. I've been rewatching early episodes of Rick and Morty with the family, so that's been great. What else? I know we've done this other show called Sexy Beasts. It's so fucking weird. It's like these people that get in these like cosmetic or prosthetics, like cosmetics. They'll look like a praying mantis, say, or a werewolf. So you won't see what they really look like until either they've been kicked off the show and they don't make it, or until the winner is chosen from the main person that's looking for that partner. It's stupid, but it's good stupid. It's good eating show. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Trying to think what else I've done with the family. I think I'm going to put a pin in that. I know for me, I've been rewatching episodes of the anime Hellgirl, which I watched years ago. Guys, if you want a batshit anime to watch, I recommend that one. It is fucking wild. Essentially, to give a bare bones premise, it's about this girl named Ai who's like in hell. She's like kind of repenting for something she did centuries ago by watching other people take revenge against people and having to ferry the targeted souls to hell. And it kind of follows different people per episode looking for revenge, contacting the Hell website. And, they get this doll with this red string on it. And if you pull the string, then your target goes to hell. And it's the whole conflict of will they pull it, won't they? What's the fallout of that? And there are some fucking crazy storylines. Like just to give you guys a taste, I saw an episode last night where this guy was dressing up as a woman and seducing all of his sister's boyfriends and like sleeping with them so that like they wouldn't be with her. And then when she finally confronts him and she's like, why the fuck are you doing this? He's like, oh, because I love you and I'm the only one that can really love you, not like these guys. And yeah, she decides to send him to hell in the end. That's how fucking wild this anime is. There's like 4 seasons. Only the first one was dubbed, and dub's pretty good. But yeah, it's fucking crazy, guys. So yeah, if any of you are anime fans and you're looking for some of that dark shit, Hellgirl is definitely your hookup. What else? Obviously, he already had Moon Knight covered because he already said that. I know you and I have started our rewatch of WandaVision, and we did the first Doctor Strange movie recently to gear up for Multiverse of Madness.
Yep.
So that was pretty cool. We have been doing Wonder Years 2021 version, which is really good.
It is.
Yeah, Ashton had that on our list for a while, and I'm going to be honest with y'all, and I told him this. I'm not saying anything to you guys. I haven't said to him. I straight up told him, I'm like, I didn't think I would like it this much, but it ended up being really good. To the point where I'm actually excited to get back to it. I really am, whenever that is. I know we did like an episode or two, I think, in this month of our Yu-Gi-Oh! Sub kind of watch. Obviously, that's going to have... It's going to have a considerable pause for the time being, just given all the fucking content. And my God,
it's a pause that's probably going to last through like fucking, I don't know, June, maybe July. I don't know.
But I have the bookmark, so I'll look at it, and one day I'll just randomly be like, yo, Ashton, you want to get back on Yu-Gi-Oh? And then you'll be like, yes.
Yeah.
And then we'll do it. But, guys, by far, and then I'm going to hand it over to Ashton, because I don't think music-wise I've done anything, because, like, my favorite groups, I don't think have released anything new. Although NLE Choppa, who's like one of my favorite young rappers in the game, I think the dude's only 18. He continues just laying down tracks, and I'm like, oh my fucking God, this fucking dude. It's not fair. I don't say this morbidly. I really hope he lives to see a long and healthy career, and that this isn't like some Juice WRLD shit, because I think the dude's a fucking genius, and I don't even think he's really done the best work he can do. There's no fucking way.
Juice WRLD, that's rough.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, because I mean, that's just the parallel that I can think of. Like, that was a really talented lyricist that had fucking bars, and unfortunately, because of a stupid fucking drug war bullshit, and just racist police wanted to start something, he's gone now. And I'm hoping NLE doesn't go a similar way, because the dude's so young. And he does your typical songs, like, oh, fuck bitches, get money. But he's so good at it. And, like, I know when he gets older, it's only going to get better. It's only going to get fucking better. So, yeah, NLE, I think, would be the only thing on the music front. But, guys, on a show front, the best thing, because I fucking adore this show, we rewatched seasons 1 and 2 of Barry. And we watched the first episode of the 3rd season last Sunday, because I love that show so much that even though Sundays are usually our day off, I'm like, yo, I'll see it, like, 11:30, anywhere from 11:30 to 1 to watch the newest episode that dropped. And it's just, Bill Hader's so fucking good. Really, everybody is on that fucking show. It's just amazing.
Yeah, Henry Winkler is an absolute gem.
And I got to give her props too, because I feel like she does get overlooked in a lot of the various discussions. Sarah Goldberg.
You realize I said Henry
Sally.
Winkler, right?
I did. No. I'm adding to that though, because I agree with you.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, to give them credit, because they get overlooked. Sarah Goldberg, who plays Sally, I think is fantastic.
Right.
Like, yeah, she is so good at being
I thought
like
that
this.
you misheard me and you were referring to who I said was as a
No, I heard you, and I completely agree. He kills it. But again, everybody does. I just feel like Sally does get overlooked a little bit, and then Stephen Root as Fuchs is just so fucking good. Like,
yes, he's so. You know what though? All that being said, my favorite character is still NoHo Hank.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Now, unfortunately, I can't remember
Anthony Carrigan.
The actor's name. Oh, nice. Okay, yeah. Actually, funny fucking thing. I saw an interview he gave, because I guess that was another thing I did on my own time this month, was watch interviews from, like, the Barry cast. Mainly Bill Hader, Sarah Goldberg, and Anthony Carrigan. But the Carrigan one, a promotional bus with a Barry poster on it drove by while I was giving the interview. It was so fucking surreal. So yeah, it's great. I think it's actually one of my favorite shows going right now. That and The Boys, I just absolutely fucking adore. And The Boys will be coming in June, so I can't wait for that either.
We have so much content, dude.
It never fucking stops at all. But yeah, I think I'm ready to yield the floor. I think I gave a pretty substantive answer this month. So on to you, friend. What do you got?
Yeah, speaking of Anthony Carrigan, it turns out he actually played Victor Zsasz in the Gotham show.
Oh, wow. Yeah, some notable names actually were in Gotham, so check that out.
Yeah, really. As far as content this month, I've been pretty limited to pretty much just the stuff that John mentioned, plus, like, Twitch. I've been watching a lot of Twitch and YouTube content this month. That's kind of my go-to, honestly. I don't, I've definitely watched some movies, but none of the movies that I've watched this month have been like first time movies. I don't think they've all been rewatches. Like it's one of those things where I'll just randomly be like, oh, I'm in the mood to watch Encanto, and I'll just pull it up on Disney Plus and watch it, or I'll just have it on in the background even while I do something else. This really has been the month of the NFL draft for me. I've spent a vast majority of my free time this month focusing on that. Whether it's doing research, watching players, talking to people about players. I think a vast majority of what I do is actually discourse and just like hashing it out with other people over what players are better than who and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been a very productive month for me in those terms. But as far as actually like watching new content, not at all. I honestly tell you. I will say. Just like a life update kind of thing, my really, really powerful, really expensive laptop bricked on me this past Saturday. And when I say bricked, I mean like I went to bed, and when I woke up, I came out to the living room, and it was basically throwing errors, unable to boot to Windows. And like I spent probably 4, 5, 6 hours trying to figure out how to get it to work, and I tried literally everything, and it ended up that I just couldn't get it to do anything. So I ended up calling Lenovo, which is the company that I got the computer from, and telling them about it, and they were trying to get me to do stuff that I had already tried to do, and I kind of filled them in on what I had already done. And eventually I ended up telling them like, oh, there's like a small dent in the screen that was going to bother me anyway. Should I just send it back and get a new one? And they were like, oh, yeah, you have, accident protection, so we can do that. So I took that to get that. I shipped that yesterday, actually. I think it was. Yeah, it was yesterday. So I'm hoping to get that back, as soon as possible, obviously. They said up to 10 business days. Hopefully it's less than that. But the downside is when I do get that back, I will have lost not a ton of significant data. Like, I think the biggest thing that I'll lose is like a few Notepad++ text documents that I had, and then updates that I had done that I will no longer have. So that's a downer without a doubt. But thankfully, because of the last time that I actually had a full-blown hard drive failure, I managed to, smarten up about the whole situation. And now, pretty much all of my important stuff, movies, my music, my files, my pictures, my spreadsheets, my documents, everything that I really care about that's really important to me is either on Google Drive or on a flash drive. So like I did a really good job of like keeping myself safe from this exact situation really fucking me over. And like to the point that literally I went back to using my old computer on that same day, and it was like there was barely, I barely had to skip a beat. Like we had a problem streaming that night because I had to do like Windows updates and stuff to be able to actually use the software that we use to stream to YouTube. But I was still able to stream to Twitch that day, and literally the next day I got all my updates done, and then we were able to stream to YouTube. So we're just good now. So like any problems that might have arisen have been effectively solved, but I still miss my computer because like the difference in just quality of life between this one is so significant. Like, dude, I'm not even joking you when I tell you my good computer that I had to send to get fixed. Do you know what I mean when I say the bezels?
No.
The amount of plastic between the edge of the screen and the edge of the actual laptop.
Oh, okay.
Like when you're looking at a TV, it's the little black bar that goes around the TV that's not screen.
Yeah.
That's a bezel. The bezels on my good laptop are like 3 millimeters. On this one, it's more like 15. It's rough. It's going back from that to this is legitimately the screen is the most difficult thing, because not only am I going from those super tiny bezels and it's like 97% screen, whereas this is like 85% screen. Not only am I going from that to this, but I'm also going from 1440p to 1080p. So there's also that downgrade. And like my eyes had gotten used to the 1440p in a very serious way. So now not only am I like lowering, like I'm zooming out basically of a bunch of different websites to make everything smaller so that I'm, more acquainted with the size of it. But like now, because I'm forced to use 1080p, my actual browser just looks fucking huge to me. And like all the little icons in like the little system tray over, or I guess at the bottom of the screen for you, I would imagine it would be, like for Windows, like the little icon for Chrome and the little icon that's like the little folder for Windows Explorer and the little icon for the start menu and stuff like that. It just looks so big to me. I'm just not used to it being so fucking huge again. Cause like, I've been using a 1440p laptop for 8 months now. I got this thing early August. And it's like just going back to this is just not easy. And now, of course, I'm going to have to readjust all over again to the 1440p when I get my good laptop back. But man, I gotta tell you, that's like the biggest news for me this month. The next, I would say, is the Ruby campaign that we've been doing in the Discord. There are 5 of us. Chafin is the one running it, and then there's me, Jackie, Craig, and DBK. The 4 of us are all role playing as a Ruby team in sort of a Dungeons and Dragons-esque sort of like role play. Chiefin is the one kind of in charge. He's the one setting the scenarios, telling us what to roll for, telling us, what the surroundings are looking like and doing and stuff like that. And we are in control of our characters and stuff like that. It's really fun, and I really want to keep doing D&D related stuff, but obviously the Ruby thing is more of a one-time thing, and after we get done with this campaign, I would really like for us to try something a little different, and I'd really like to try and get more people involved. So if you're interested in playing Dungeons & Dragons with the TWitWoW crew, $3 a month to the disc or to the Patreon gets you into the Discord, and then you can potentially join us for our next campaign. It's been a lot of fun, though. I've really enjoyed it. We've only done 2 sessions so far, but they've both been fun. We're doing it Tuesday nights instead of watching NXT, because, fuck NXT.
Yeah, absolutely on that one.
Other than that, really just music, I would say. And even then, God, I haven't really discovered any new music. I think, was this the month that MGK dropped his new album? It might be. It might have been a while ago, actually. It might have been last month. But, yeah, there's also Jay Park dropped a new song called Car Crash that I've been really, really, like, borderline obsessed with. I kind of got back into the Punk Goes Pop albums just because of, like, random circumstances that led me back to them. Corpse dropped 2 new songs this month that are bangers. I think that about covers it. So I'm going to leave it at that. Hope the answer was sufficient, Rotten Butter. I don't think you're even here right now, but second question from Rotten Butter, John, is the trolley problem. My question is, in the heat of the moment, do you think you could go through with it? I'm going to tell you right now, if I was in a real life trolley problem situation where there is a fucking runaway train and 4 or 5 people tied to the track that it's going straight down, and there's a switch that I can hit to make it go down like an alternative path with only one person tied to it, I'm hitting the switch, and then I'm doing everything in my power to try and untie that one person, because at the end of the day, my goal is to save everyone, but I know for a damn fact that if I can untie one person, it's a hell of a lot easier to do that than it is to try and untie 4 people or 5 people or whatever the trolley problem is that you're going with here. So in my mind, like if we're doing this entirely based in reality, I'm 100% hitting the switch first of all, and then I'm doing everything in my power to save the one person that's tied to the other side of the track.
Yeah, I think ultimately, I agree with you. I feel like I'd hit the switch, and then if I really couldn't untie them, I would just hope that I could hoist them up, throw them out, and then just take their place. I could not have on my conscience killing a person. So yeah. I'd rather just get hit by the train myself than know that I willingly killed someone, even for the sake of like some quote-unquote greater cause. So yeah, I think you and I are on the same page there. Next Rotten Butter question.
Third and final Rotten Butter question. How do you type with boxing gloves on?
Oh, God, who does that?
It's a Homestar Runner reference, actually.
Jesus Christ, I'm out of
Strong bad.
All right,
Next set of questions are Hazard, a.k.a. Gillis.
Oh, that's right.
First question. Each of you choose 3 New Japan wrestlers that would have a dream match versus the Blackpool Combat Club.
And this is we're talking in a trios match, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll draft. You can go first.
Sonata.
Suzuki.
Okada.
Nagata.
Tanahashi.
Master Wato. That's the 3. We're done. You don't have to pick again.
Sweet.
Who was yours? Your 3 was what? Sonata, Okada, Tanahashi?
Yes.
So you went straight for just the best of the best. I'm straight up trying to mirror guys. Like Suzuki is my mirror for Moxley, Nagata is my mirror for Danielson, and then Wato is my mirror for Yuta.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So I like that we approached it in different ways. That worked out really well. Second question from Hazard. I watched Peacemaker Season 1, and I was pleasantly surprised by the quality of the show. What did you like most about it?
I love the humor in it.
Yes.
I will say right now, the humor, I think, was my favorite part of it.
I'm gonna give you a slightly different answer, because while he was a big part of the humor, just in general, I'm gonna say John Cena's performance was my favorite part of it.
Yeah, he was fantastic, dude. He was better than anything I've ever seen Rock in.
But he wasn't the only part of the humor. But like, his emotional scenes were really well done. Like, I'm shocked at how good of an actor he is.
Bro, I'm shocked how much I gave a shit about a fucking CGI eagle.
Yeah.
Because, like, when he's at the fucking vet.
That's true.
When he's at the fucking vet and Eagle, he rises up and he does hug him, like, that hit me. I'm not gonna lie. It hit me. I'm like, fuck. Yeah, it was great. Great fucking show. I think one of the best things DC has put out, honestly.
All right. Second question, or third question from Hazard. As great as the MCU's is, we have to admit when it's flawed. I'm curious what you guys see as potential flaws or drawbacks and what you can point out in that. He said, as far as like maybe something technical or plot or whatever, just flaws to the MCU.
I think in the beginning of the universe, I would always go to like the villains, because I always thought the villains were weak and like unimpressive. Obviously, that changed with Thanos, so I feel like it's such great presence. And I think even in subsequent films, like we just saw Spider-Man No Way Home, I feel like Goblin was fucking menacing in that. And, I like that he is more of a threat because we're not trying to do retributive justice. Again, kind of circling back to the Cobb question of Brandon, where I kind of invoked Batman. I loved that this Spider-Man, right, was like, let me try and rehabilitate these people. And that makes it harder, especially when Goblin, again, doesn't want to be rehabilitated. So I think Marvel has fixed their villain problem to a point. I think occasionally they can slide back and I'll just be like, that villain didn't seem that impressive. But as far as flaws today, I don't know, because you're right. Everything has its flaws. I'm not going to say like, it's perfect. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like they kind of do things like, going back to Infinity War and Endgame, that kind of rounded out that first act. You could say the first phase, that whole fucking universe that they've built, with the whole like all female superhero things, like, oh, don't worry, she's got this or whatever kind of thing, which I feel like the boys satirized that perfectly, by the way. It felt a bit unearned. Yeah. Girls get it done. I feel like they just kind of shoehorn that a little bit. So I feel like at times that they want a certain payoff, but I don't think they really earn their way to that payoff. So I think that's the best critique I can give. Dude, you've, I think, even watched some of the stuff without me, like just, you and your mom at times. So I feel like you've even been more exposed to this than I have, even though we primarily do this together. What would you say some of the flaws in your eyes are?
Wait, what do you mean I've watched stuff without you? What do you think I've watched?
Well, just like, having you done like watches of movies before where it's like, I watched this with my mom today and it was part of the MCU, and you're just like, it's the one thing
maybe. I haven't done that in a while, but I've probably done that for sure.
Yeah. So what do you think the flaws are?
I think probably the biggest Marvel flaw is how formulaic they can be sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's very consistent. The first movie, in any new hero making their debut, the villain is like a dark version of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the first Tony Stark movie, the big bad was just a big bad Iron Man. The first Thor movie, it was his brother. The first Captain America movie, it was another fucking super soldier, except this time he had a red face. Like that's the most common flaw that I would say that I've noticed. Other than the obvious, like you bring up, villains just not lasting for more than one movie is kind of not great. But yeah, I would say the formulaic factor kind of plays into it. I don't know. I feel like another big flaw in more recent ones, and this is probably going to be one that you're like, oh my god, that's right, that you didn't think of. I hate that they've basically built it up so that it's so expected that people are just going to team up now that they have to go out of their way to actively explain away why certain people aren't showing up to help with every situation.
Yeah.
Like the best example I can think of is in Spider-Man Far From Home, the one that takes place in Europe, when Spider-Man like goes through a laundry list of other heroes asking why they're not being placed in charge of this. And obviously we know now that it was the fucking I forget the guy's name.
Mysterio?
Ben Mendelsohn's character. I'm trying to remember his name. The green guy, the Skrull.
Oh yeah, I'm drawing a fucking blank.
I keep wanting to say Thanos, but obviously that's the fucking big bad.
Yeah.
Talos. That's who it is. Talos. Talos was Nick Fury in that movie, and obviously he didn't have any really good answers, so he just kind of bullshitted his way through it. And I'm just like, okay, but like, there's got to be someone, right? Like, this is post-blip. People are back. Everyone's around. Why are you not trying hard? Like, that's the biggest sort of cognitive dissonance for me when I watch Marvel movies, is just like imagining that all of the other heroes that are on Earth are just cool with this, or at least not bothered to do anything about it, you know?
Right.
So yeah, that's my big one for more recent movies. Because like really ever since I would say like Civil War, every movie that isn't a team up has to justify why it isn't a team up.
Yeah.
So and like I think that specifically I would say that Eternals is maybe the worst offender of this because you've got like mythical monsters attacking cities and people that nobody knows about defending them. And like, where the fuck are the Avengers in this instance? You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
the fucking gigantic hand coming out of the ocean. How was that not considered an Avengers level threat? What?
Yeah.
And yeah, and like even Shang-Chi, I think, like literally they even addressed in the post-credit scene of that movie, like Wong is aware of this shit. Wong got a fucking like he got a whatever the sorcerer equivalent of a phone notification is when the rings got activated. And like this shit is, you know, people are aware of it. So it's not like it's just going down undercover that no one knows about it. So it's like, how do you justify not doing everything you can to save, you know, to help prevent this from happening? Is what I'm getting at.
Hey, dude, that shawarma ain't gonna eat itself.
I know, obvious. Well, that's the thing. Tony and Steve aren't around anymore. Like Steve's technically around, but he's not really.
Yeah.
So, and like,
No, I don't think I will.
Thor's got his own thing going, but like, where's Ant-Man? You know, like where are all of these other people that showed up for Endgame that are no longer anywhere to be seen? And like the realistic, like real life answer is they didn't feel like paying him for an appearance, right? But like,
Yeah.
in universe, we need a real explanation, and that's a flaw, I think, of the later movies.
Definitely.
All right. Fourth question from Hazard: how long do you think BCC and the House of Black should be built separately before feuding?
Honestly, I wouldn't mind they just build them separately for a year. I think you can do that. At the very least, a more minimal answer, if they are going to introduce trios titles, and I think that 100% should be your final, maybe another 6 months. But I wouldn't mind a full-blown calendar year of these two factions would have been developed separately. Because then when they come together...
I was going to say they don't touch until Revolution this year, at which point... Or not Revolution, Full Gear. They don't touch until Full Gear of this year, at which point they face off for the trios belts that they would have to introduce on the way.
Yeah, and I guarantee you that first confrontation will get holy shit chance from that crowd.
Yeah.
Like if I know they
before the bell even rings,
holy shit, this is awesome. What was that?
I said before the bell even rings, maybe.
Yeah, it'll get this is awesome chance before the bell even rings as well. Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right. Fifth and final question from Hazard: are you at all interested in true crime? If so, do you listen to true crime podcasts? And what subject do you prefer? Cold case, disappearances, serial killers, etc.
Never got into it. You would think it would be something in principle that I would get into, but it's just something I've never gravitated towards. I have one colleague who is really plugged into the stuff, apparently. So that's really cool. But yeah, it's just never been for me.
Yeah, it's not something I seek out, but I will admit that like if I happen to catch something, it does tend to grab my attention. So, perfect example, Dirty John, the series on USA Network. When they were advertising season 2 and it had Christian Slater in it, I was like, oh shit, new Christian Slater show, got to check that out. But then I went back and watched season 1. Christian Slater didn't show up, and it was still fucking great. That's season 1 with the original, like the guy that's actually known as Dirty John, was excellent. That was really fucking good. And then season 2, I don't know if I've ever even finished season 2. Like it's the Christian Slater season. It's the whole reason I wanted to watch the show in the first place, and I honestly don't even know if I've finished it yet.
I think for me, the equivalent of that, because I get what you're saying, and I definitely am more in line with you, would be Unsolved Mysteries when that's hit Netflix. And I do think another season's coming. I don't know when that's going to come out, but yeah, they had some mysteries on there that I still think about. It was pretty wild. So yeah, it's just something, I think it's something I'm more prone to do with like friends or family. Like I know sometimes Christy will be listening to podcasts like that. And when I'm cooking, and I'll just kind of linger, kind of be with her, listening to that. But I don't think it's something that on my own time, right, in my own solitary space that I seek out.
All right. Next up, we have got a new set of questions. This is from Abel. And technically, he only asked 2 questions before we went live, but he did ask 3 more, and I am going to include them in here because he asked them before we got to them, and he did get a couple questions in before we went live. So 5 questions from Abel. First of all, Stone Cold or The Rock? Who's the better wrestler, promo, heel, face, and overall performer?
Okay, I'm going to be honest. I feel like Austin kind of sweeps, because here's the thing. If we're talking before the broken neck, he actually was a pretty technically sound wrestler. So, like, I want to give it to him there. And even when, like, the neck was broken, he had a style that really resonated with the crowd, as did Rock, though. I mean, that people's elbow always got a fucking pop. So I think pre-neck injury, I would say Austin. Post, maybe I'd give it to Rock by a smidge. Talker, Austin had crowd control like nobody else. I don't think he even had to ask the audience to do shit. Whereas sometimes Rock would be like, all right, this side of the room's going to say ass, and this side of the room's going to say hole. And, like, they do it, but he had to ask them to do it. I feel like Austin didn't even have to explicitly ask people to do shit. His crowd control is like, I can't even put it into words. It's transcendent. Okay.
I want to actually answer these one by one if you don't mind.
Oh, well, I was kind of going through it, but sure. Yeah, if you want to do that.
I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, because I was saying that I feel like Rock is better wrestler over time, post-neck, and then promo, and then I was going to say heel, face, and then just go to overall performer. So I was kind of doing that.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Myself. Then you go ahead and finish, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Heel, I would say Rock. Austin's heel run, I don't think ever really connected. Face, I would say Austin, just if we just go by numbers and merch and everything. I saw far more kids at my school in Stone Cold merch than Rock merch. Overall performer, I would say Austin. So now you go, man.
No, I think we actually do agree. I just didn't realize what you were doing. So yeah, I think we do just generally. I think we agree across the board. So like wrestler, I would actually say The Rock, like athletically selling everything. Promo, I would say Austin. For not necessarily even for the same reasons as you. For me, I've always disliked The Rock's promos for the same reasons that I dislike Britt Baker's promos. I feel like they go so far out of their way to tear their opponents down that by the time you actually get in the ring with them, who gives a shit whether you beat them or not? They're like garbage, in your words. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like nobody buried more wrestlers than The Rock. It was like I legitimately have this whole like theory that The Rock was actually more bad for the overall wrestling business in the long term than he was good. Like even though he had like that mainstream appeal and he went to went to Hollywood and everything, and like that's all kind of a good thing. The fact that he like really went out of his way to embarrass people on the mic is like I see that as a net negative. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Better heel Rock, better face Austin, better all over performer Austin. So yeah, we agree on all that. I do think that that's like my biggest problem with The Rock though is like he's known for his because of his charisma, but in terms of the actual wrestling business, I think he did more harm than good.
Yeah, I think that's actually something where I would have camaraderie with you there, for sure.
All right. Let's get into our second question from Abel. Why is Joe Biden not forgiving student loan debt for easy brownie points?
Wait, I kind of spaced out there because I was reading chat. I mean, I got the gist of the question. I just want to reread it again so that I fully understand. Oh my God, where the fuck? Okay.
You just want me to say
okay, there we go. No, it's fine. I found it. Why do I not forget? Again, honestly, Abel, part of me wants to give the overly complicated answer of like, oh, well, if student loan debt's forgiven and we fundamentally transform education, we actually harm the military-industrial complex because, that's kind of their predatory means of like, oh, you've got these debts or you can't even go to school because you're afraid of debt. Like, come serve with us for a few tours, give a couple of years there and then you'll be set up. So I feel like everything that's bad is kind of interconnected. And I know that's something we've kind of talked about before on the podcast. I think too, the debt industry is one that I think, makes good money, for those that are inflicting the suffering, that is. And I don't know if Biden, wants to really disrupt that because I don't know who has him in their pocket. Because every politician is bought by some entity, right? Or entities. Yeah. So yeah, I think those would be the two compound answers, both incredibly pessimistic. I think somebody benefiting from the debt industry probably has their finger on Biden's pulse. however weak it may be with his decrepit old fucking ass. And I think also it does harm in a way the military-industrial complex, because what happens when you forgive student loan debt? It could potentially, I doubt it in the U.S. because we're so goddamn, we're in a stasis socially, where even if we do something, I don't think it sets off-chain reactions. But, it is the possibility that you forgive student loan debt, then you just begin to question the concept of debt itself. If you could just get rid of all of it with the flick of a pen. And then that goes into questioning the idea of education, which our current idea of education, again, the military is dependent on for recruitment efforts. So again, it's all domino effect. I would also say that as well, as I think in a way, in a very indirect way, it's an affront to the military industrial complex. I'm sure Ashton will have something to add that I forgot, but that's just what I'm going to offer for now.
So you had the pessimistic take. I'm going to go a little more optimist, okay?
Sure.
So in my mind, now I'm going to have a hard time keeping it together here because it's just hilarious to me. But in my mind, if I'm Joe Biden, right? First of all, I don't want to be fucking president again. I don't have any interest in serving another term. But I do want control over who the next president is, right? So if I'm Joe Biden, I'm waiting for the dust to settle on the Democratic nominee for president in 2024. I'm waiting for the dust to settle. And maybe let me actually just back up a little bit. The absolute most optimistic possible outlook that you can have on this is he's waiting until we get closer to the midterms to try and swing it in favor of the Democrats. That's
right.
Optimistic possible way you can look at it. But to me, the more realistic one is he's waiting for the dust to settle on the Democratic midterms in 2024. And then he will basically use the leverage of forgiving student loans to then plow through and snowball an endorsement for somebody that he wants to be the next president. That's how I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it as a political move to gain leverage for him to basically be able to choose who the next president's going to be. So maybe he doesn't even wait until the dust fully settles. Maybe he does what he did on Super Tuesday, or like a few days before Super Tuesday in 2020, where he gives a super like huge key endorsement to the person that he wants to win in like maybe 3 or 4 what are they called? What are the
swing states?
Caucuses. Like you wait for a few caucuses to happen, and then you give your big endorsement, and that's the snowball effect that gets the ball rolling that eventually leads to your person being the Democratic nominee, and then you give them the full keys to the kingdom, and you just hope that the votes play out in your favor and that you just lose power to the Republicans. So yeah, that's the most optimistic outlook is he's using it for leverage to try and win the midterms. That's almost too benevolent in my mind, though. I think he's trying to use it as leverage to determine who the next president's going to be.
Interesting. Okay. Next question.
Next question from Abel. What's your favorite cryptocurrency?
I don't have one, son. I don't have one.
Strictly based on the name alone, I got to go with Cum Rocket.
Next question.
Fourth question. What's your favorite snack while watching wrestling?
Really my favorite snack in general, because I don't have a specific snack of like, oh, this is what I do for Marvel content and this is what I do for wrestling. Favorite snack in general, if it's in the house, is fucking grapes. Give me a fucking big bowl of grapes. If not grapes, fucking veggie straws, but definitely grapes. Grapes is S tier. Actually, it's SS tier. Fucking, it's supreme.
Nice. Yeah. I think just to keep things moving along, I'm going to give an actual recommendation here. If you've never tried it, maybe you'd like it, depending. Like if you like Lucky Charms, you'll probably like this. Literally just dehydrated marshmallows. They're pretty simple. Like you can literally fill an entire 18-ounce cup with dehydrated marshmallows, and it's like 300 calories tops. You just pick at them. It's super easy to just graze on these things, and they taste good. Like they're sweet, and that's all you really need with a good snack sometimes. And yeah, it's low calorie, high volume, good shit. Anyway, next up, our fifth and final question from Abel. Who are your favorite philosophers and why?
Oh well, this will be an easy one for fucking me, even though it wasn't specified for me. Deleuze easily. God, I love him so much. Walter Benjamin, who was Frankfurt School 20th century. Deleuze is also 20th century France. Foucault, I can see that I would fuck with because I love his project. Love his project because it's genealogical. It questions the just the rising of certain institutions, how they function. One book that I really want. Mark, this is not your question, Mark. Although there actually is one that really does. I'll get to him in a second because he is kind of cool. Is the history of madness, where he just focuses on the history of like psychiatric institutions, the concept of insanity. It's just this whole sprawling thing. Like, yeah, his work. There were things he was supposed to publish, but he died before he could finish them. Unfortunately, of AIDS, because of the unfortunate AIDS epidemic that nobody wanted to help the gay community with, and instead they fucking stigmatized them and did all that bullshit. So that was great. So yeah, Deleuze, Foucault. Levinas had an effect on me. I don't know if favorite would be a bit strong. I think he could be a very riveting writer. But if nothing else, he inspired me to do over like close to 300 hours on a crisis line. So like, it's got to count for something, right? Frantz Fanon's really good. I wanted to give at least one black philosopher in there. Anybody that wants like an understanding of racism in terms of like the black-white dynamic. Black Skin, White Masks, I think still holds up. And I think that was written in, I want to say the late to mid 90s, or not 90, but 1900s. It's so good. There's actually a chapter in there called Black Women and White Men. And I'm going to be that guy right now because I feel like I've been pretty well behaved this show, oddly enough. But it describes Candace Owens to a T to me. Absolutely. Foster, I do not deserve that privilege, but that genuinely touches me, for real. So thank you. So yeah, it describes Candace Owens to a T, the chapter that Fanon does in Black Skin, White Masks on Black Women and White Men. It's fucking fantastic. Kant is good, but he obviously has his problems. He's racist like most European philosophers. And I really haven't read enough of him. I know my friend Angel would be like, oh, you got to read Kant. I know, Angel. I'm working on it. Who else? God. On the women's side, and this is more contemporary because I haven't read like a lot of past women. Kate Mann, who's done 2 books, Down Girl, The Logic of Misogyny, really good. And then another book entitled, also really good. And then I have to give credit, have to give credit to Christy Dodson, who is a black woman philosopher. She's done a lot of stuff on a concept that we call epistemic violence, which is the violence done to people in the sense of they can't be a knower. So, for example, if I walk into a room and a black woman walks into a room and the audience is expecting a lecture on, say, Greek tragedy through Homer, there'd probably be a presumption that I would be the lecturer because there's something innately that just disqualifies the woman in her blackness and her femininity to be a knower of that kind of subject. That's what we mean by epistemic. Well, that's at least one way of how we mean epistemic violence. She's done great work in the area, so I highly recommend that. God, I could do this all day. Oh! Actually, no, I'm not forfeiting the floor until I say one more name. Hans Georg Gadamer is really, really, really fucking good. He lived to be 102 fucking goals, so long as my mind can stay that sharp. And he just has a voice that, like, I want him to read me Greek philosophy before bed. That's low-key a kink of mine, which unfortunately won't happen because time travel doesn't exist, and if it does, I wouldn't be able to afford it. But the way he interprets text, because that's his whole thing, is called hermeneutics. And hermeneutics is kind of a method where you engage textual material. Like there's, what do they call it? Like biblical hermeneutics. You see that a lot with like, oh, how do we interpret the Bible? Is it like allegorical? Is it literal? But then when you apply it to like political institutions, other texts, stuff like that, like a whole world opens up. And yeah, the way he does it with Greek writings is amazing. I fucking love it. And obviously there are a lot more because I've been doing this shit for almost 10 years now. But I'm just going to stop there. So, yeah, top 3, definitely Deleuze, fucking Foucault, and God, I forget. Walter Benjamin, also very good. And then, yeah, I think Gadamer would be 4. Kierkegaard's also a fucking sweetheart. Oh, my God, I love him so much. The only Christian that I really deeply respect, which that's a huge compliment, given that I still consider myself largely secular. Yeah, Kierkegaard's great. So that's it for me. Obviously, this question wasn't just for me, so if you have any answers, you can give them. That's cool.
This question might as well have been just for you because you just spoke Greek, man. I have no fucking clue. I don't have an answer, honestly. Like, there's no one that comes to mind.
Let's move on to our next question.
Next set of questions, or our final set of questions, Alex Foster. First up, any franchises besides wrestling where you root for the villain instead of the hero?
Oh, everything. Everything. I feel like I didn't even.
Yeah, the easy answer is John. John says everything for sure.
Everything. Actually, I should put a qualifier. This way, I'm not canceled in like 10 years when this is dug up. Everything except things involving Nazis, because fuck Nazis, whether fiction or nonfiction, forever. Like, always punch Nazis, kids. Always. So, yeah. That I just had to put that qualifier out there because I know somebody would be like, oh, so you hail Hydra? No. Hive, on the other hand, yes. That planet's fucking awesome. So, but Hydra, no. Fuck Hydra. What about you? Let's see your dark side. Where do you root for the villain?
Well, I was kind of hoping that you'd be able to help me with this since you and I watch so much content together. Can you remember any particular times where I've been particularly behind a particular villain, John?
We both seem sympathetic to Killmonger, right, in Black Panther.
Yeah.
But would you say you were rooting for him?
Well, with Killmonger, like, the message was right, but the methods were bad.
Right. What about Magneto?
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. That's a really good one. Yeah, definitely Magneto, for sure. But he said outside of... He said, oh, but that's besides wrestling. He said besides wrestling, not besides superhero stuff. So, yeah, Magneto's probably the best answer that I can give, honestly.
Fuck yeah, I helped. Fuck y'all.
Oh my god. Alex Foster's second question, underrated desserts? I feel like we already kind of answered this for Abel with the favorite snack.
Yeah, I would say for things that are more desserts, maybe I only say this because my view is very limited and I know Ashton doesn't really care for it, but baklava. I've never really had bad baklava. I don't know why I get such a bad rap from people. But
yeah, I'm gonna just keep it simple and just say the nice simple milkshake. So easy to make.
Yeah, dude.
They're so hard to get wrong. Like, how do you mess up a milkshake? If you put too much of something in it, just put more of the other thing in it, and then you know what you have? A better tasting milkshake and more of it.
Yeah.
Like, if it's too chocolatey, add more milk or ice cream. If it's too thick, add more milk to thin it down. If it's not thick enough, add more ice cream to thicken it up. If it's not chocolatey enough, add more chocolate. It's so easy. It's so simple. And really, to kind of catapult off of that specifically, if you like hot fudge sundaes, if you like hot fudge in general, and you've never had a hot fudge milkshake from Dairy Queen before, cannot recommend strongly enough. They're incredible.
That sounds incredible.
On a small, and then I got a medium, and then I got a large, and the goal was to try and make it home without finishing it, and I've never succeeded in that endeavor. They're fucking incredible, dude. They're so good.
They sound amazing.
I've always loved hot fudge. Like, I've always been one of those people that was like, hot fudge sundaes are good, but the worst part is the vanilla ice cream. You know what I mean? So, like,
yeah,
they make a hot fudge milkshake at Dairy Queen. As soon as I saw that, it blew my mind. And I was like, oh, I'm going to play it conservative and just get a small. I don't know if I like it. I don't want to spend all the money on the large, so I got a small. And it was life-changing. So the next time I got one, I got a medium, and it still didn't make it home. So then I've just been getting larges ever since.
Yeah, dude, I've always wanted to try, like, Dairy Queen desserts and stuff, because they always look so fucking good on TV, especially their shakes and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah, the only other really big recommendation that I would give as far as Dairy Queen goes, frozen hot chocolate.
Ooh, nice.
It's got such an interesting texture. Because, like, with a milkshake, you know, it's like that smooth, creamy texture. But with a frozen hot chocolate, it's somewhere between that and a slushie. Like, it's like they use, like, these tiny little, like, smaller than a pinhead-sized ice balls. And it's like the texture of that, but like, you know, if it was a slushy, like filled throughout the whole thing. And they use their cocoa fudge, which is really delicious, to make it chocolatey. It's really good. It's really, really good. But I've just been on such a hot fudge milkshake kick lately that I haven't had one in months.
Yeah. Oh man, dude, you got me craving one now. Because I think I told you like last year. Since we're just talking about shakes specifically, so I'm going back to shakes more generally and not Dairy Queen specifically.
Yeah.
Like last year, I had a huge craving for a vanilla shake. Cause I'm all about chocolate. Don't get me wrong, but I've always had chocolate like for years. You know, when I was a kid, I especially loved chocolate shakes. But like, I saw a post about vanilla. I even told you about that one, where it's like everybody disparages vanilla, but people used to die to bring that back to their kings and shit. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I want a vanilla shake, and I got that with like a McDonald's large fry, and honestly, I was in heaven. I'm like, that's fucking good. I think I might do it again this summer, honestly, because it's just something about that, just something about something so straightforward that really hits the fucking spot, man. It's
just reminds me of that goofy meme. I'll fucking do it again.
yeah, absolutely.
All right, third question from Foster: if you had to train under someone in the Dragon Ball universe, who would best suit you?
It's funny because you say the question is who would best suit me, and I would definitely need somebody to be understanding and patient. So despite the fact that Vegeta's my favorite, he wouldn't best suit me. I would actually go, just with the few times that I've seen him train somebody, particularly when he was trying to train his brother Goten, I would go with Gohan. Because honestly, him and I are practically at the same level since he's devoted his life to being a scholar anyway, but there are a lot of things that are just innate to him that aren't to me. So I think he'd be the perfect trainer for my skill level, since I would probably be on a similar level to Videl, where the most I could hope for is learning how to fly. So, and yeah, he did train Videl as well. So that's like 2 people under his belt. So I think temperamentally, he would fit me perfectly. And the only reason I didn't say Goku, while he has the temperament, he's way too committed fighting beings from like another universe. Whereas I feel like Gohan, even though he has a family and he is a scholar, he'd probably still have more time to train me than Goku would. So I think Gohan's actually the ideal trainer for me.
Low key, I might be, overstepping here, but I think King Kai would be my best bet.
Really?
Because isn't he the one that lives on his own planet with insanely high gravity?
I think so.
Yeah, that would probably be my choice. Because like, the general idea just being like existing on a planet with gravity that high will just innately make you stronger, and then on top of that, training on a planet with gravity that high, like, it just seems like the most efficient way to go about training, especially for someone who already has a big frame like I do.
Right.
Like, I am a large human being, so I feel like the higher gravity would have less of an effect on me. I don't even know, honestly.
Yeah.
So... all right, so next question, fourth question actually. Jay White calls you both into the ring. He asks, are you Bullet Club or God?
Bullet Club.
Yeah. I honestly, as long as Jay White's in Bullet Club, I'm with Bullet Club.
Yeah, I'm not about to go with somebody that decided to cosplay as Maven for a couple months. Sorry, Tomatonga.
Yeah, true. All right, so our final question of this Q&A. If John Cena returned to WWE, but as Peacemaker, who should he feud with / team with?
God, I want to be cheeky and be like, he should feud with Mr. America, that Hulk Hogan gimmick that he had for a little bit.
And I wanted to be cheeky and be like, he should obviously feud with Aquaman, aka Roman Reigns.
Yes. That's why Cena didn't beat him at that, what was it, SummerSlam last year?
Yeah, I think so.
Because you were John Cena and not Peacemaker, so it was your own fucking fault.
Yeah. Tisk.
God, who would be good? You know who would be perfect if they really wanted to make somebody, sincerely? Fucking Ali. I think Ali would be fucking amazing. Because if we're going with the Peacemaker before he started to shift and get friends and be like, oh, I'd kill a child if it meant peace and stuff like that. Like, you'd have somebody that's like psychopathic in their mission but thinks they're a hero. And then you have Ali, who's actually seen that side of things, being a former cop. But he actually, I think, is more emblematic of justice and stuff like that than anybody else. So yeah, I'm going to say fucking Ali. Peacemaker and Ali in a feud, I think, would be fucking awesome.
That's a really interesting take. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I really have a good answer for this, especially after that. Maybe Sami Zayn along similar lines, but like obviously he's not a former cop, but he is a Muslim, which is you would imagine Peacemaker probably would have a problem with.
Yeah,
So that might be my best guess or my best answer for this.
that's fair. All right, did you say that was the final question, or do we have
Yes, it
one more?
was. That was the final question of this Q&A, my man.
Holy shit, under an hour and a half. Look at us fucking go.
Yep.
Yeah, guys, I'll make this quick because I'm not about to waste fucking time. We will see you next month, May 26th, 7 p.m. Patreon donors get up to 5 Q&A questions. Now, again, you have really two choices. I would just go with the one choice, but you can donate $1 and get just purely the Q&A questions. Or you could donate $3, get access to the TWitWoW Discord and the additional questions. And having access to the Discord, there is a Q&A channel in our Discord, along with a bunch of other amazing offerings, including game nights. To submit your Q&A questions. The best places to submit them, again, are the Discord Q&A channel and my pinned tweet. I'm at John_TwitWoW. So get your questions in. I'm going to swap out the pinned tweet practically right now while I'm talking to you guys. So yeah, I'm just going to keep it to purely a Q&A address. And then just as far as immediate content goes, just wrestling related. Tomorrow we've got a triple header because we've got Stardom at 5, which should be a very interesting show. I looked at the card. It's looking pretty solid. 10 is Rampage live reactions. We know that we're getting an ROH World Television title matchup, Samoa Joe versus Trent Beretta. And then at 3:30 a.m., you heard that right, we are going to be live covering the Stardom Cinderella Tournament semifinals and finals. So we're going to see the whole shebang, baby. Who wins the tournament, who gets to wear the dress, who they're going to challenge, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, triple header tomorrow. So yeah, that's just wrestling stuff. Obviously, I know Ashton's like wanting to do draft coverage, so any football fans who want to stick around for that, I know he's very insightful, got a great fucking mind for it, so you'll get some great analysis from him there. And yeah, we'll catch you guys for the wrestling stuff if you're only there for that tomorrow at 5. So with that said, just remember, go to my pinned tweet and submit your new questions. And I'm going to hand it over to Ashton to take us home.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we hope that you all enjoyed this month's Q&A. Next month's Q&A. John, did you already say when next month's Q&A would be?
May 26th.
May 26th. Excellent. There you go. So, you've got 4 weeks to get your questions in. In the meantime, we hope that you enjoyed this one. Remember to like it, subscribe, click the bell, follow us on Twitter and Twitch. And if you'd like to support us, you can also subscribe on Twitch, buy our merch on Spring, donate to our Patreon, and share this channel and this video with all your wrestling fan friends and let them in on the best kept secret in the YouTube and Twitch wrestling communities. That's right, we are TWitWoW, and we are the workhorses in the Y and TWCs, and we will be seeing you all tomorrow. Twice tomorrow, technically, because that third one is going to be Saturday morning, like John said, at 3:30 a.m. Holy shit. Although I will say, that Stardom show is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to that. So we hope that you're all looking forward to it as well. And most importantly, we hope that you're all able to remember to stay tuned.